Now let's talk about its bass. As far as bass goes, I actually think this presents one of the most amazing bass ever you can ever find in an IEM. So, many audiophiles will question this, like, how the fuck can a Bose headphone represents natural bass because it's pretty fucking exaggerated and doesn't have bottom end or high end extension? Well, I beg to differ. It really doesn't dig the deepest or to the lowest octave, but it presents bass in an extremely natural manner that no other IEMs really comes close. Like if you ever heard cello in a well-damped room, you'd know what I mean. It isn't tight, it isn't controlled, it isn't boomy at all. It's just what you expect to hear from a real instrument. And these IEMs kind of excel in that area. They aren't boomy, they don't dig very deep, but they just excel in natural bass. There's plenty of bass, and it's plenty natural, and that makes the bass special on these. Trust me, if you're an audiophile, then you can just spend $40 on eBay for a pair of these. If you don't like these, you can still resell them for much the same value, so you won't lose money at all. So spend $40 and see if you like these. I love these. As far as bass goes, yeah. So about mids, as you can expect from Bose, the mids on these are pretty thick. They don't necessarily have the most intimate sounding vocal or most realistic sounding instrument, but if you listen to pop tunes, then you'll find these extremely satisfactory. Again, the mids are neither distant nor close. They're just there, presented in a pretty thick manner, pretty pleasant manner, and you'll find yourself listening to these all the time if you're a mids lover. Again, the mids is nothing to write home about, but it's excessively natural, and that makes it, again, one of the best mids you can ever find. As far as high goes, the highs on these are plenty rolled off. They don't extend far at all, and it just isn't very far reaching. Sometimes I can't hear cymbals on these. I mean, come on, what do you expect from a $40 IEM? You can't expect that much, right? Like, yeah, they just don't necessarily have the best high-end extension out there, but it's bearable. And now let's talk about dynamics of these IEMs. I think as far as dynamic goes, these are pretty good. At least as good as some of my other IEMs like Massdrop Plus and SE-A46. Now, this is different from a BA driver. Like, you know what to expect from BA drivers. They tend to sound drier and more analytical than its dynamic counterpart. And this, I think, is the perfect example of how dynamic drivers should really be implemented. Now, dynamic drivers don't usually have the analytical prowess as BA drivers do, and they don't necessarily sound the cleanest. So if you're looking for a analytical sound in a dynamic driver, then you'd be looking at some hi-fi man, maybe IE2000 or some other $100, $1,000 stuff like that. Otherwise, you go down the BA route. But this, in my opinion, is how a dynamic driver should really be implemented. Instead of going for an analytical sound, this thing sounds extremely relaxed and musical. It just lets you dive straight into music and forget about what source you're trying to use. Even out of an iPhone, these can sound extremely tuneful and rhythmic. And I speak very high about these IEMs because of this very reason. It's not that they use high quality driver or anything, but these just these are the, well, in my opinion, these just sound dynamic. It screams dynamic at you. It doesn't have tons of details, but these are extremely musical and let yourself immerse in music. And that's what I think is most important, because in the end, you listen to music, not your gears, right? And this headphones let you do that. Now, they don't do well at acoustic recording because acoustic recording prefer details and, some small sonic cues that most dynamic drivers fail to reproduce. But if you listen to some pop tunes on these, like Katy Perry or say Bruno Mars, then it'll crack a smile on your face. Trust me, these things will really put a smile on your face if you listen to pop tunes. These are the best pop earphones ever. And with that out of the way, let's talk about impedance matching and power handling. Actually, as far as power handling goes, these IEMs are not very sensitive. You can get decent volume out of your iPhone, but I'd actually recommend plugging these into a DAC amp, like the iFi Micro IDSD. Now, with more power, these things will dig deeper in bass, soar higher in treble, and the mids will be thinned out, because the mids, in my opinion, are kind of overly thick if you plug these into an iPhone, and they'll thin out a little on an amp, and that provides a very pleasant listening experience. And yeah, it scales pretty well, as well as any $100 IEMs that you would expect. Well, don't expect these to scale up as well as, say, an HD600 or like a Hi-Fi-Man RE2000. No. These are not going to do that, but these are very good in their own right. And I think they deserve a spot in every audiophiles collection, because they sound unique and they sound very dynamic. And at last, they last pretty long. I've had my pair for roughly 8 years now, and the cords haven't frayed yet. You see, lots of owners report that the cords have frayed on their BOSE IE2 or IE Sound True. Not the case with the first gen IE. It still works very well, and it still sounds awesome. I take mine out from time to time just to relax and just immerse myself into the immersive BOSE sound. I like how these sound. Like I do have the 846. I do know that. I do know maybe it sounds better than these, but I still pop these into my ears from time to time just because they sound good as a headphone. It does what a headphone should do. That is to represent tuneful, rhythmic music and to immerse yourself into music, and these excel at these aspects. Actually more so than the 846 Master Drop Plus, IMO4, or any other IEMs I've heard for that matter. And that is what matters, in my opinion. So yeah, that is pretty much about the review. I wish you guys have a nice day, and peace.